Michael Myers survived, being stabbed in the stomach by Laurie Strode, being shot 6 times by Dr. Loomis, and falling from the 2nd-story balcony of the Doyle house. Now, any other human alive would be dead by this point. But this didn't stop Michael. He got up, shook it off, and continued on. He strolled through town, mixing in amongst all of the trick-or-treaters until he found his next victim. Alice Martin, a 17-year-old girl home alone, was Michael's 4th victim of the night. And autopsy results reveal hers was the most brutal. Michael Myers stabbed Alice a total of 12 times in her chest and abdomen, completely caving in her rib cage.
Much like he did with Annie Brackett's body, Michael positioned Alice Martin's body with her feet together and her arms outstretched on her parents' bed. He used Alice's blood to write the word Samhain on the wall. And it was later discovered that he had done the same thing at Haddonfield Elementary School. He had written the word Samhain in blood on the blackboard. Samhain is an ancient Celtic festival that began at sunset on the last day of October 31st, and went to sunset on November 1st. And it marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of the dark winter months. And during this festival, the cattle would be ceremoniously slaughtered to provide food during the cold, hard winter months. And most importantly, during this festival, it was believed that the souls of the dead would return home. From the perspective of Michael Audrey Myers, this festival had a much deeper meaning. It was the start of Halloween. It was the start of him returning home for the slaughter.
What was perplexing to Dr. Loomis was Michael's connection to Celtic mythology. And you have to remember that Michael was only 6 years old when he came to Smith's Grove. So prior to that, during his whole 15-year internment there where he spoke to no one, he had no exposure to the Festival of Samhain. So how did he know about it? The only explanation that Dr. Loomis could come up with had nothing to do with being rational or being scientific. He simply felt that Michael was of or had a connection with the paranormal world.
There are 2 inseparable components when it comes to the story of Michael Myers. There's the criminological, and then there's the supernatural. Now, from a supernatural standpoint, we're talking about a man who appears wherever and whenever he wants to. He murders effortlessly and without hesitation. And then he vanishes like a ghost. From a criminological standpoint, we're talking about the most prolific serial killer in American history, who has claimed over 100 confirmed victims and is the prime suspect in hundreds more.
Despite Dr. Loomis's theories and the accounts of a few survivors, we know nothing about Michael Myers. We have no motives, no pattern, no medical data. We have nothing. This makes him currently impossible to apprehend. We cannot predict where he will commit his next killing. Serial killers are driven mostly by single motives: lust, profit, power, obsession. Some even claim they are being controlled by an exterior force. With Michael Myers, we do not have any clue to why he chooses his victims or what his end game is.
From the security surveillance footage that was recovered from Haddonfield Memorial Hospital on November 1st, 1978, we saw Michael walking through the hallway, going room to room, searching for his sister Laurie. He had simply picked up where he left off at the Doyle house and followed her to the hospital. And as he made his way through the hospital, he ended up murdering 7 staff members and 1 U.S. Marshal. For me, what was the most startling about that footage was his walk. He made no attempt to hide. He had no fear of being caught. He had one singular goal in mind, and that was to kill Laurie. All the other victims that night were either in the way or simply for fun.
I don't think his methods are premeditated, but they are certainly the product of a man who has no regard for human life in order to act out and fulfill his fantasy. At Haddonfield Memorial, he killed a doctor by stabbing him in the eye with a syringe and left his body sitting upright at his desk. He then drowned a nurse in a therapeutic hot tub, burning the skin off her face in the process. He also drained the blood from another nurse by laying her on an exam table and using an IV. The most shocking death from that night was captured on security camera. He approached a nurse from behind and rammed a scalpel into her lower back. Then with one hand, hoisted her up into the air, then held her in front of Laurie Strode as a symbol of his strength, as if to say, checkmate.
When Michael Myers was pulled out of the wreckage of the hospital alive, Dr. Loomis knew what was going to happen. He predicted, he saw it simply because of everything that had gone on the 15 years prior. That Michael was merely lying in wait before he would be on the hunt again. But instead of being in a catatonic state at Smith's Grove, he was lying in a coma at Ridgemont Federal. But not really. It was just merely another facade of Michael's. But no one would believe Dr. Loomis, despite everything that had happened in 1978. So during the 10 years that Michael lied in this coma, he refers to this particular period between 78 and 1988 as the Devil's Moratorium.
It's almost as if he is waiting in the shadows, watching any of us at any given time. Case in point, Michael's 1989 reign of terror on Haddonfield ended just as quickly as it began and left the residents shocked and grieving like they had so many times before. They tried to take control of their town. They banned Halloween. They swore never to speak of Michael again, but the damage had already been done, and in 1995, Michael returned to take even more lives.
Dr. Loomis retired in 1990, and he went into complete seclusion. He saw too many innocent people killed, too many lives destroyed, and it ends up taking its toll. In 1995, Dr. Loomis was called out of retirement because this young woman who he had protected and saved from Michael Myers once before, Jamie Lloyd, sent out another cry for help. Unfortunately, this was his last tour of duty because his body was found inside the sanitarium where he had tracked Michael down.
Although Haddonfield had been Michael's ground zero, if you will, for so many years, the fact is Michael Myers did not limit himself to killing just on Halloween or just in the town of Haddonfield. In fact, the most interesting example of this was in 1998, when he went all the way to Summer Glen, California. It's like 2,000 miles away. And he went there looking for his sister, Laurie Strode, once again. Only this time Laurie was living under an alias of Carrie Tate. She was the headmistress of a Hillcrest Academy, which is a private boarding school.
Laurie Strode was the only other person other than Dr. Loomis who proved to be a worthy adversary of Michael. And I think that ate away at him over the years. And as was the case with Dr. Loomis, evil will triumph over his enemies. Although Laurie was able to escape Michael in 1998, he finally was able to take his sister's life in 2002.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him 2 lips like roses and clover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Bum 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 bum. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him the word that I'm not a rover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Give him a pair of eyes with a come-hither gleam. Give him a lonely heart like Pagliacci, and lots of wavy hair like Liberace. Sandman, someone to hold would be so peachy before I'm too old. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me, please, please bring me. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Where's the head, man? That's some nasty shit, dude. Man, I mean, it's just, it deforms, man. It completely deforms the flesh. That's fucking amazing. That too.